Hello everyone, in this video we will discuss the poem Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. This poem by John Keats is one of the most celebrated poems in English literature, praised for its rich imagery, emotional depth, and exploration of profound themes such as mortality, beauty, and the power of art. So let's start with the first stanza. My heart aches and a drowsy numbness pains my sense, as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains. 1 minute passed, and lithe words had sunk. 'Tis not through envy or thy happy lot, but being too happy in thy happiness, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beechen green and shadows numberless, singst of summer in full-throated ease. Explanation. The speaker begins by expressing a profound emotional and physical discomfort, stating that his heart is aching and he feels a drowsy numbness. This suggests a deep sense of sorrow and melancholy. The imagery of drinking hemlock or an opiate indicates a feeling of intoxication or being numbed, as if he has consumed something poisonous or sedative. The reference of Lethe, a river in Greek mythology associated with forgetfulness, suggests a desire to forget or escape from his current state of pain and ennui. However, the speaker clarifies that his distress is not due to jealousy of the nightingale's happiness. Instead, he explains that he is overwhelmed by the nightingale's joy, represented metaphorically as a light-winged dryad of the trees singing in a peaceful forest setting. The nightingale's song evokes the beauty and vitality of summer, creating a stark contrast to the speaker's own feelings of sadness and despair. Overall, this passage sets the tone for the poem, introducing themes of longing, melancholy, and the transformative power of nature and art. It highlights the speaker's yearning for transcendence and escape from the limitations of human existence, while also acknowledging the beauty and vitality of the natural world. Stanza 2. Oh, for a draught of vintage that hath been cooled a long age in the deep delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and the provincial song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south, full of the true, the blissful, hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim, and purple-stained mouth, that I might drink, and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. Explanation. In this stanza, the speaker expresses a deep longing for a drink of wine, evoking images of an idealized vintage imbued with the essence of nature and joy. The mention of a draught of vintage suggests a desire of an aged wine, cooled in the earth for a long time, which is imbued with the flavors and aromas of the natural world. The wine is described as tasting of Flora, the goddess of flowers and spring, the countryside, and the lively atmosphere of dance, provincial songs, and sunburnt mirth, evoking a sense of rustic celebration and vitality. The speaker continues to romanticize the idea of drinking, longing for a beaker full of wine from the warm south, likely referencing regions known for their wine production, such as southern Europe. The wine is described as being full of blissful hippocrene, a mythical fountain of inspiration associated with poetic creativity. The imagery of beaded bubbles winking at the brim and a purple stained mouth conveys the sensory pleasure and richness of the wine. The speaker's desire to drink is not merely for physical refreshment but also for spiritual escape. He expresses a wish to drink and leave the world unseen, suggesting a desire to transcend mundane reality and experience a deeper connection with the natural world and the nightingale's song. The stanza ends with a desire to fade away into the forest dim, further emphasizing the speaker's longing for a communion with nature and a sense of unity with the nightingale's transcendent song. Stanza 3. Fade far away, dissolve and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret. Here, where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectred thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow, and leaden eyes despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Explanation. In this stanza, the speaker continues to express his desire for escape from the burdens and sorrows of human existence. He longs to fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget the troubles that plague him, including weariness, fever, and fretfulness. These troubles are contrasted with the idyllic and carefree existence of the nightingale among the leaves, highlighting the speaker's yearning for a simpler and more joyful life. The speaker describes the human world as a place of suffering and despair, where people sit and hear each other groan. The imagery of palsy shaking a few sad last grey hairs and youth growing pale and spectre thin and dies paints a bleak picture of aging and mortality. Even the act of thinking is depicted as a source of sorrow and despair, suggesting the pervasive nature of suffering in the human experience. The stanza concludes with a lament about the loss of beauty and the fleeting nature of love in the human world. The speaker suggests that in this world, beauty cannot maintain its luster and new love quickly fades away. This reinforces the theme of transience and impermanence, contrasting with the eternal and timeless nature of the nightingale's song. Overall, the stanza conveys the speaker's profound disillusionment with human life and his longing for escape into the natural world. Stanza 4. Away, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his bards, but on the viewless wings of poesy. Though the dull brain perplexes and retards, already with thee, tender is the night, and haply the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry face. But here there is no light, save what from heaven is with the breezes blown, through verdurous glooms and winding mossy ways. Explanation. In this stanza, the speaker expresses his determination to escape the constraints of mortal existence and join the nightingale in its transcendent realm. He declares, "Away, away, for I will fly to thee," indicating his eagerness to leave behind the troubles of the human world and unite with the nightingale. However, the speaker emphasizes that his journey will not be facilitated by earthly pleasures like those associated with Bacchus, the god of wine, and his companions, bards, but rather by the intangible and ethereal power of poetry. He asserts that he will fly to the nightingale on the viewless wings of poesy, highlighting the transformative and uplifting nature of artistic expression. Despite the challenges posed by the dull brain, which perplexes and retards, the speaker remains resolute in his pursuit of poetic transcendence. The speaker feels as though he is already in the presence of the nightingale, suggesting a deep spiritual connection with the natural world. He describes the night as tender, evoking a sense of gentleness and tranquility. The mention of the queen moon and her starry phase adds to the enchanting atmosphere, emphasizing the magical quality of the night. In contrast to the darkness and despair of the human world, the speaker finds solace in the celestial light and natural beauty of the night. He acknowledges that the only light present is that which comes from heaven, carried by the breezes through the verdant and winding paths of the forest. This stanza conveys the speaker's longing for transcendence and his belief in the power of poetry to elevate the soul and unite with the divine essence of nature. Stanza 5. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness guess each sweet, wherewith the seasonable month endows the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves. Explanation. In this stanza, the speaker acknowledges his physical limitations in perceiving the beauty of the natural world around him. He laments that he cannot see the flowers at his feet or discern the fragrant scents hanging from the branches above. Despite this, the speaker describes how he can still imagine and appreciate the various scents that he believes are present in the surrounding environment. The speaker describes darkness as embalmed, suggesting a sense of preservation or timelessness. Within this darkness, he is able to guess each sweet scent that the season has bestowed upon the grass, thicket, and the wild fruit trees. This highlights the speaker's deep connection to nature and his ability to perceive its beauty even in the absence of visual stimuli. The stanza continues with a list of flowers that the speaker imagines are present in the environment, including white hawthorn, pastoral eglantine, fading violets covered in leaves, and the musk rose, which is described as full of dewy wine. These flowers evoke a sense of lushness and abundance, contributing to the overall imagery of natural beauty and vitality. The speaker also mentions the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves, suggesting a sense of peacefulness and tranquility associated with the summer season. Despite being unable to see the physical manifestations of nature, the speaker's imagination allows him to appreciate its beauty and richness, reinforcing the theme of poetic transcendence and the power of imagination to connect with the natural world. Stanza 6. Darkling I listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to seize upon the midnight with no pain. while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sword. Explanation. In this stanza, the speaker reflects on his contemplation of death while listening to the Nightingale's song. He describes himself as darkling, suggesting a state of darkness or obscurity, perhaps metaphorically representing his emotional turmoil or existential despair. The speaker admits that he has often found himself drawn to the idea of death, even going so far as to romanticize it in his poetry by giving it soft names and associating it with tranquility. The speaker expresses a longing for death as a release from the pain and suffering of earthly existence. He describes the appeal of dying upon the midnight with no pain, emphasizing the desire for a peaceful and painless departure from life. This desire is heightened by the contrast with the Nightingale's ecstatic song, which represents a state of transcendent joy and freedom from earthly concerns. Despite his longing for death, the speaker acknowledges the Nightingale's continuing song, which serves as a reminder of the beauty and vitality of life. He laments that he is unable to fully appreciate the Nightingale's music, as his ears seem to be deaf to its message. The stanza ends with speaker resigning himself to the fact that he will remain earthbound while the Nightingale's song becomes a high requiem that eventually fades into the earth, symbolizing the cycle of life and death. Stanza 7. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird, no hungry generations tread thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clown. Perhaps the self-same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth when, sick for home, she stood in tears amid the alien corn, the same that oft times hath charmed magic casements opening on the foam of perilous seas in fiery lands forlorn. Explanation. In this stanza, the speaker addresses the Nightingale directly, asserting its immortality and eternal nature. He declares that the Nightingale was born for death, emphasizing its enduring presence and significance throughout history. Unlike mortal beings who are subject to the passage of time and eventual demise, the Nightingale remains untouched by the ravages of time and the hunger of subsequent generations. The speaker reflects on the timeless quality of the Nightingale's song, noting that it has been heard by people of all walks of life throughout the ages, from emperors to commoners. They speculate that the very song they hear on this particular night might have been the same one that once brought solace to Ruth, a biblical figure, as she stood sorrowfully amidst unfamiliar surroundings. The stanza continues with the suggestion that the Nightingale's song has the power to transcend geographical and metaphysical boundaries. It has charmed listeners in various settings, from the depths of sorrow in a foreign land to the fantastical realms of fairy tales. The mention of magic casements opening on the foam of perilous seas in fairy lands forlorn conjures images of enchantment and adventure, highlighting the universal appeal and enduring enchantment of the Nightingale's song. Overall, this stanza celebrates the timeless and transcendent nature of the Nightingale and its song, portraying it as a symbol of eternal beauty and inspiration that resonates across time and space. Stanza 8. Forlorn. The very word is like a bell to toll me back from thee to my sole self. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she's famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows over the still stream, up the hillside, and now it is buried deep in the next valley glades. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Fled is that music. Do I wake or sleep? Explanation. In this concluding stanza, the speaker reflects on the fleeting nature of the experience with the Nightingale's song and his return to reality. The speaker described the word forlorn as resembling a tolling bell, signaling his departure from the transcendent experience of listening to Nightingale's song and his return to his own solitary existence. The speaker bids farewell to the Nightingale, acknowledging the limitations of his imagination. The fancy cannot cheat so well in maintaining the illusion of the Nightingale's song. He acknowledges the ephemeral nature of the experience as the Nightingale's plaintive anthem fades away, gradually disappearing from his consciousness. The stanza concludes with the speaker questioning the reality of his experience, wondering if it was merely a vision or a waking dream. He expresses uncertainty about whether he is awake or asleep, reflecting on the ethereal and dreamlike quality of his encounter with the Nightingale's song. Overall, this stanza captures the bittersweet nature of the speaker's experience as he grapples with the transient beauty of the Nightingale's song and the inevitable return to mundane reality. It conveys a sense of longing and ambiguity, leaving the speaker questioning the nature of his encounter and the boundary between reality and imagination. Critical analysis. Themes: transience and immortality. Keats contrasts the ephemeral nature of human existence with the eternal song of the Nightingale, exploring the tension between mortality and immortality. Beauty and art. Keats celebrates the transformative power of art and poetry to transcend the limitations of human experience and capture the beauty of natural world. Escapism and reality. The poem grapples with the desire to escape from the burdens of reality into the realm of imagination and fantasy, while also acknowledging the inevitability of returning to the harsh realities of life. Imagery and symbolism. Keats employs rich and evocative imagery throughout the poem, using symbols such as the nightingale, the Grecian urn, and the seasons to convey complex emotions and ideas. The nightingale, in particular, serves as a powerful symbol of immortality and artistic inspiration, while the Grecian urn represents the timeless beauty of art. Tone and mood. The tone of the poem fluctuates between moments of ecstasy and despair, reflecting the speaker's conflicted emotions. Keats juxtaposes moments of sublime beauty with poignant reflections on the fleeting nature of life, creating a sense of melancholy and longing. Structure and form. The poem is written in the form of an ode, a traditional poetic form used to praise or celebrate a person, event, or idea. Keats employs a complex rhyme scheme and richly textured language, with each stanza building upon the themes and motifs introduced in the preceding stanzas. Allusions and references. Keats makes numerous allusions to classical mythology, literature, and art throughout the poem, drawing on a wide range of cultural references to enrich the text and deepen its meanings. These allusions serve to situate the poem within a broader cultural and intellectual context, while also adding layers of symbolism and interpretation. Comparison with other poems. Ode to a Skylark by P.B. Shelley. Similarities. Both poems are odes that celebrate the beauty and transcendence of nature. They both employ rich imagery and vivid descriptions to evoke the sights and sounds of the natural world. Both poems explore themes of immortality and power of art to transcend earthly limitations. Differences. While Keats focuses on melancholy aspects of human existence and the desire to escape into the realm of imagination, Shelley's poem celebrates the skylark as a symbol of joy and inspiration. Keats's tone is more introspective and contemplative, while Shelley's tone is more exuberant and ecstatic. The Darkling Thrush by Thomas Hardy. Similarities. Like Keats's Nightingale, Hardy's thrush serves as a symbol of natural beauty and transcendence. Both poems explore themes of mortality and the passage of time, as well as the contrast between the vitality of nature and the bleakness of human existence. They both feature a sense of nostalgia for a lost world of innocence and vitality. Differences. Hardy's poem has a more pessimistic tone, reflecting the disillusionment and despair of the modern age, while Keats's poem contains moments of hope and longing. Keats's imagery is more lush and sensuous, while Hardy's imagery is more stark and desolate. To the Virgins to Make Much of Time by Robert Herrick. Similarities. Both poems address themes of the passage of time and the fleeting nature of life. They both urge readers to seize the moment and appreciate the beauty and vitality of youth. Both poems employ vivid imagery and metaphor to convey their messages. Differences. Herrick's poem is more didactic and admonitory in tone, while Keats's poem is more introspective and meditative. Herrick's poem emphasizes the importance of seizing opportunities and making the most of one's youth, while Keats's poem explores the desire to escape from the burdens of reality into the realm of imagination. So this was the discussion on John Keats's poem, An Ode to a Nightingale. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other poem. Until then, goodbye and thank you.